Good morning, students. Welcome back to my online classes. So we had started with determiners. Last week I taught you, I explained you what a determiner is. I told you the different kinds of determiners. Then we also talked about where not to use articles. So I think by now you are cleared up with the article part. So now I move forward. I'll discuss with you the other kinds of determiners. Now there is nothing very much to understand about it, or it's not so difficult. It's quite easy. I think you all have your copies. There you all have written down the kinds. So when I talk about them, listen to me carefully and understand it. Okay. So the second kind of determiners that I gave you was demonstratives. Now demonstratives, there are four kinds of demonstratives, that is this, that, these and those, isn't it? Now the word demonstrative is derived from demonstrate. Now what is demonstrate? When you show something. I think I have explained you this in class 7 also, what a demonstrative is. It always demonstrates, it always shows. Now these words, this, that, these and those, when do we use them? When we try to show a noun, or we want to show a pronoun, like this is my pen. So you are using this to show your pen. So therefore this becomes a demonstrative determiner. You all remember the definition of determiner, isn't it? I don't need to recall it. So right now, what was it? Determiners are words which tell us about the noun or the pronoun. So this is my pen. This is telling us about the pen. See, what is it telling us? Firstly, this is always used with singular. So from the word this, we come to know that the noun is singular. Next, we know that this is used with something that is close to us, that is near us. So when I say this is my pen, I will understand that the pen is close to me. Similarly, if I say that is my pen, it will mean that the pen is far away from me. Similarly, if I say these are my pens, that it will mean that the pens are close to me, as well as they are more than one. They are plural in numbers. Similarly, those are my pens. It will mean that they are more than one pen and they are far away. So it's demonstrating the pens. It is telling us about the pens. So this is demonstrative. The next kind of determiner that you have is possessive. So from where has the word possessive come? It has come from the word possess, which means belonging. This also I told you last year. Belonging means something that belongs to someone who is the master or who is the owner of that particular thing. This is my house. So mine. It belongs to me. The house belongs to me. I am talking about what? I am talking about the noun house. And what am I showing? I am showing you that this house is mine. So I am describing the house by using the word mine. Therefore, mine is a possessive determiner. Similarly, that is your house. So I am pointing out at the house and telling that it belongs to you. So any word which tells us to whom that particular noun belongs is called a possessive determiner. Isn't it? It's very easy. So next you have quantifiers. Now yes, certain things I would like to explain you about quantifiers. Now I'll do it together. Quantifiers and numbers. Numbers are always used for countables and quantifiers are used for countables as well as uncountables. Numbers, number determiners we use for certain things where we can count them when it is not in a big quantity. Okay, when I say for example, I have 100 pens. That means it's in my capacity to count those 100 pens. But say for example, you have around 50,000 pens. Now, is it possible to sit and count all those 50,000 pens? You might not even have patience for that. So, when you look at the pens, you just say, okay, there are many pens. So, countable nouns, for countable nouns, you can use both quantifiers as well as numbers. But when will you use quantifiers and when will you use numbers? When you think that you are able to count those nouns, then you use numbers. And if you think it is not in your capacity to count, it's much more in quantity, then you can count them, then you can use quantifier. So that is about numbers. So just simply you need to remember that numbers are used with countable nouns only when we are able to count them. Okay, when it is in our capability or our capacity to count them. Now let's come to quantifiers. So quantifiers normally is used for countable nouns as well as uncountable nouns, and normally it tells us about the quantity of a particular noun. Now what I actually want to explain you here is where to use which quantifier. Okay, so first I gave you a few a little, but I'll come to it later. Now you have much in your, when I gave you examples, I gave you much. Much is used with uncountable nouns. Okay, like I have much work, there is much water in the pond. Okay, so uncountable nouns use much in them. Then you have many. Many is used with countable nouns. I gave you an example. Any. Any is used in case of interrogative sentences and negative sentences. There is no matter whether it is countable or uncountable. Now for example, you can say I don't have any book with me, or you can say I don't have any water left in the jug. Okay, or in case of questions, do you have any book, do you have any water in the jug? So interrogative means questions, negative sentences means sentences which says no. So in this both kinds of sentences you use any, but we never use any in case of positive or affirmative sentences. So you will not say I have any book, that is a wrong sentence. Okay, or I have any water, you don't say, no, it will be wrong. So in case of negative sentences and interrogative sentences, do you have any book, do you have any water? So in such sentences, whether it is countable or uncountable does not matter, you can use any. The next word that I gave you was some. So some can be used in case of countables, in case of uncountable. Sometimes you can use them in negative sentences. Sometimes you can use them in interrogative sentences also. Do you have some books? But then I prefer not to use. I'll suggest don't use. Okay, you use any in case of negative and interrogative. Some you can use in case of both countables and uncountables in affirmative sentences. Okay, so there are many more quantifiers which is not possible to talk about in this video, but yes, when I give you sentences or later on in the class, or when you practice, I always tell you practice at home. So while doing those things, you will come across many other quantifiers. Right now I'll talk about the last two quantifiers which I gave you in the beginning, but I'll explain now. Now see, let us take the words few and little first. Okay, now whatever I'll explain about few and little will be applicable for both. Whatever I'll take the word few and I'll explain you, and that will be applicable for little also. Now with few and little, there are three kinds of determiners. One is few, then a few, and the few. Okay, again little, it means little, a little, the little. So there are three kinds of quantifiers of each of the word few and little. Now listen very carefully to me. Okay, whatever I am going to explain about few is also applicable for little. Few is used in case of countable nouns, little is used in case of uncountable nouns. Now, when will you use few, when will you use a few, and when will you use the few? Okay, few we use in sentences when the quantity is almost nil. That means in case of both few and little, if the quantity is almost nil, then it is where we use few and little. Like if I say there are few chocolates in the box, it means maybe hardly one chocolate is left. okay, or 1 or 2 chocolates are left, and which might not be of any use. Similarly, there is little water in the jug. Now this little water in the jug cannot quench your thirst. Maybe it's 2-3 drops of very little water lying at the bottom of the jug, which cannot quench your thirst, okay, which is not enough for you to drink. So that is little, that is almost nil, or almost it is useless. So that is where few or little is used. Now you are a class of 44 students. Now out of 44 students, if on a fine day, on a certain day, only 2 students come, now those 2 students will be useless for the class, isn't it? So we will say few students came to school today. Okay. Now let's come to a few and a little. A few is used when the quantity is less but it is more than few. That means out of 44 students, say for example 10 students come to school. It's not a lot, isn't it? It's less, yes, but then it's not useless also. 10 students, we can do something in the class. Therefore, that is where you use a few. If I say there is a little water left in the jug, it will mean that there is water which is not enough, but at least it will quench my thirst to a little extent. Okay, so this is where a few and a little is used. Next, the few and the little. When I talk about the particular quantity of the noun and point out to it, then that is where we use the few or the little. So say for example, there are a few students in the class. It means less students are there. And then I say the few students who came were sent back home. It means that you are pointing out to those a few students who came to the school. So you are pointing out to a particular quantity. So when we talk about a particular quantity, then we use a few and then we use the few and the little. So like one more example, there is a little water left in the jug. It means less water is left in the jug, and then you say, give me the little water left in the jug. That means you are pointing out to that jug exactly where that little quantity of water is left. So you are pointing out at a particular quantity of water. So that's it, my students. Go through my video. If you don't understand once, listen to it twice, thrice, and make my points clear so that I can move forward with the rest of the determiners in my next class. And as I have said, these are not the only quantifiers. There are more. There is lot. Lot itself is a quantifier. So there are more. So this is not enough. So when you do exercises, you will get many other quantifiers. Okay. And I think you all have done your homework. I'll give you the answers. You can just tally with your copy, and then when school opens, I shall check them. So with that, I'll end up my class today. Thank you. Have a nice day.